Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another lore video. Today's topic is the closest thing the Warhammer world has to a Valkyrie, a powerful Norscan woman who ascended into form of a dread demon prince of Khorne. I am of course talking about Valkia the Bloody, so without further ado, let's begin. Valkia the Bloody, also known as the Gore Queen, the Bringer of Glory, and the Sword Maiden of the Blood God, is a demon princess of Khorne. A murderous and unforgiving warrior queen, Valkia swoops down over the battlefield on crimson wings and is a consort of the Blood God himself. But before we go into detail on the demonhood of the warrior princess, we shall go into detail in her life prior to her ascension. You see, before ascending into demonhood, Valkia the Bloody was a mortal human. Valkia was born into a Norscan clan known as the Schwarzwolf, where her father was the tribal leader. The name Valkia the Bloody is feared among all tribes of the north, friend and foe alike. From her earliest days as a shield bearer for her father, King Merok, she has known nothing but unending warfare and the brutal politics of the tribal leaders. When her father, King Merok, died in battle, Valkia quickly ascended to the throne of her father. There were some in her tribe that did not trust the rule of a woman. However, she quickly put them down for their insubordinates. Many more challengers came from around the northern regions, but any who challenged her would be struck down. Her feral beauty and ferocity in battle attracted many suitors, yet it would take an impressive man to tame Valkia the Bloody. And such a man did appear. A chieftain from the Bloody Hand tribe appeared, and an allegiance was created between both tribes. So much so that Valkia and the chieftain bore two daughters together. The chieftain also enlightened Valkia the Bloody to Khorne, the Blood God, and ever since then, she dedicated every kill to the Blood God. Having decided that her husband could teach her no more, she ended his life, and following that, merged the two tribes to become the largest tribe in the whole of the north. Her army was large, and her army was fierce, and her army would be solely dedicated to Khorne. All who stood in her way would be crushed, including the Chaos Champions of other gods, which pleased the Blood God greatly, who was so enthralled with this mere mortal that he appointed her his mortal beloved. However, it was not only Khorne who was impressed by Valkia. This unimaginably perverse demon wished that Valkia abandon her life as a monarch and join him as his slave girl, as her feral beauty was fit to serve the perverse powers. Naturally, this enraged the Khornate follower, and the proud warrior queen truly flew into a berserker rage and struck off the demon prince's very head with her barbed spear, Sleipnir. My apologies there for butchering the pronunciation there. She then decapitated the Slaaneshi demon's head and attached it to her shield. The demon would carry on whispering in order to still convince her to serve him. However, she had other plans for the shield, as she swore before her tribe that she would carry it to the Chaos Wastes and place it at the foot of Khorne's throne. She then set off on her journey into the Chaos Wastes, where many Slaaneshi demons were lying in wait for her to avenge the insult to their master. And even though Valkia was a very powerful warrior, even she would fall victim to exhaustion, and after slaying countless Slaaneshi demons, she fell and was quickly torn to pieces. But this was not to be her end, as Khorne, even though being utterly furious at her dying, had plans for her. Because of her valor and her courage, Khorne decided to intervene and reincarnate his fallen champion. The Norsemen say that Khorne's roars shook the very foundations of the world, so much so that the very mountains themselves trembled. His mighty anger brought her back from the dead, but reformed according to his own will and power. Khorne took her in his burning grasp and twisted her into a more pleasing form. Forging her anew in the fires of his wrath, he bent back great horns from her skull, and gave her long, bestial legs of a bloodletter, and finally blessed her with great wings so that she may fly over a battlefield. The warrior queen had been reborn into the form of a demon, Khorne's demon, and she would be his rage incarnate. However, the blood god decided to leave her beauty very much intact. Then Khorne set upon her a task, that she would descend into battle and fight alongside not only Norskans, but any who would worship the blood god. And those who fell would be taken by her to the realm of Khorne himself, to do glorious battle in the halls of Khorne, where they would fight on the blood god's legions for all eternity. From then on, she was known as the Shield Maiden of Khorne. Such an ascension was prophesied by the Norskans of old, where they spoke of great winged demons with mighty spears bearing warriors to the realms of chaos. And upon her return to the north, Valkia was met by tribesmen who had fallen to their knees in adoration of her before she even spoke a single word. Valkia had a reputation of being an honored and famed warrior, even in the violent societies of the north. But it was time for her to be revealed to the civilized nations. And in the year 1396 of the imperial calendar, the dwarves of the northern hold of Karak Ghul would feel her wrath. You see, at this point, a chaos warband led by a chaos champion known as Bofvar was already laying siege to the hold. And Valkia had descended from the realms of chaos to bless his efforts and aid him in battle. And in return, she commanded that the Norskans perform a ritual known as the Blood Raven to the defeated dwarves. Upon agreeing to this, not that they had much choice, Valkia joined Bofvar and his warband in leading the attack, to which they quickly surrounded and overwhelmed the surrounding positions of the hold before overrunning the citadel itself. The dwarves were quickly defeated and many lay dead. It was at this point that the ritual of the Blood Raven could begin, and Valkia led them in this practice. They unfolded the bloody ribs of the dwarves, making naked their hearts, and spread their lungs upon their shoulders, making it seem as if the tortured dwarves bore bloody wings upon their back. This practice henceforth was deemed important within the Norscan tribes, and some of the more prominent tribes have called this practice the Blood Eagle. This was not the last time the civilized races would see of Valkia, for in the year 2398 of the imperial calendar, she came once more to the Norscan tribes, and she commanded that they follow her to war once again. Valkia's target was the imperial province of Nordland, so the Norsemen took to their longships and sailed south. The Norskans fell towards Nordland, destroying towns and villages of the northern province, and slaughtering all who dwelt within. There was very little resistance from the Imperials themselves, as the larger towns refused to send aid to the smaller towns and villages. However, the common folk did try to fight back. Led by a simple fisherman known as Harold Dreisacker, they beat their boat hooks into halberds and patrolled the coastlines. They also manned the abandoned coastal forts of Nordland. And a small fleet of boats was organized by Harold to be ready to respond to the sights of the Gore Queen's red sails. These Nordlanders were able to repel small invading forces and keep their coastal territories relatively safe, long enough to breathe a sigh of relief, as it was almost the end of the summer, which heralds the end of the Chaos Marauders' raiding seasons. But these were no simple Chaos Marauders. These marauders were led by Valkia the Bloody, and only 3 days later, the Norskans fell upon Nordland again. Harold and his fleet moved to intercept the northern fleet. However, Valkia would not allow her fleet to be destroyed. With a mighty throw, she flung her great spear with such force that it smashed Harold's vessel into matchwood. The fishermen were sent to the depths of the ocean, and it had looked as the Chaos Marauders had won this day, were it not for a dwarven vessel that was steel-clad and belching smoke, coming to avenge Valkia's desolation of the northern hold of Karak Ghul. The great dwarven ship was more than a match for the wooden longships of the Norskans, and easily tore them asunder. Because of this, the Norskans were forced to retreat back to Norska, but none can say what happened to Valkia herself. However, it was more than clear that her existence would still continue, as she was the chosen shield maiden of Khorne, and the blood god would never let her fall this way, not until she became useless in his eyes. While the Norskans were defeated, ultimately it did not matter, for the Norsemen had triumphed regardless, having slain many in the name of their god, and having spilled rivers of blood for his glory. For Khorne cares not for whence the blood flows, only that it flows for all eternity without cease. According to Norscan sagas, Valkia has only been matched in battle once, when fighting the famed Chaos Champion, Lord Mortkin. You see, Lord Mortkin journeyed into the Chaos Wastes to earn the favor of the gods, and to receive the favor of Khorne, Mortkin bested a massive two-headed giant in a direct contest of strength. Khorne was impressed with the Chaos Lord, but he demanded a further test, so he sent Valkia to test the great champion. The Chaos Lord fought the Gore Queen to a standstill, matching her every spear stroke with a sweep from his mighty axe, thus earning the grudging respect of Khorne's Shield Maiden. And because of that, the Blood God blessed Mortkin with his boon of unmatched strength. Valkia was sent many times to test the worthy, to see if they deserve to be led to Khorne's brazen halls. When she emerges into a battlefield, the Chaos Warriors fight with even greater vigor in her presence, eager for the chance to become chosen, as they know that if they impress the Gore Queen, they impress the Blood God himself. But should they falter, Khorne's wrath shall descend upon them through Valkia herself. Valkia had even aided Archaon when he was still upon his quest to become the Ever-Chosen. She had come to his aid when Archaon and his forces did battle against the Dark Elves. For when Archaon tore out the heart of a Dark Elf assailant and held it before a war shrine dedicated to Khorne, he had pleased the Blood God tremendously, who then saw it fit to send aid to the favored one. Valkia had arrived within an instant, and charged directly towards a black dragon at the head of the opposing army. Moving with the fury of the wind, she lopped off the head of the dark sorceress astride the beast with one fell blow. The dragon itself flew into an uncontrolled rage, but its petty anger was little compared to the berserker's rage that burned within Valkia's veins, and her spear tore great gashes in the dragon's hide. And with her final stroke, she tore apart the creature's throat and sent it crashing to the ground. Howling again with a cry of victory, she plunged into the enemies below, slaying all within her reach. With her weakening the enemy line, Archaon led his warriors into a devastating charge that scattered the elves. When victory was achieved, Valkia vanished from the battlefield as quickly as she had come. Over the years, she would be seen throughout Norsca, testing potential champions and aiding loyal Khornite followers in battle. During the end times, Valkia the Bloody led armies of Khorne across the world, overwhelming every army that stood in her way, laying siege to and participating in the destruction of Nagaroth, Middenheim, and Averheim. During the Battle of Averheim, the last area of Imperial resistance, she set her sight on the Imperial standard as well as the skull of who bore it, Ludwig Schwarzhelm, the Emperor's champion himself. Valkia and the Emperor's champion dueled amidst the battle. Though Ludwig was a swordsman of exquisite renown, who bore no equal among the men of the south, Valkia had been a queen of Norsca in mortal life, and in immortal demonhood bore the highest favor of Khorne the Blood God himself. Valkia's spear had torn its brutal way through Ludwig's breastplate and pierced his heart, slaying him. But in his death throes, the warrior had raised the imperial standard Valkia sought to claim, and drove it through her demonic flesh. The demon prince's very momentum driving her further and further down the spear, until the heartwood shaft had shattered her unnatural spine, and ended her life. Thus Valkia the Bloody had fallen. However, she had played her part, and eventually the world was destroyed. And with that, my friends, we have come to the end of our lore video. Thank you so much for watching. Might I suggest giving the video a like, as it really does help the channel out. If you'd like to keep up to date with all my postings of Let's Plays, guides, and lore videos, may I also suggest subscribing to the channel, as it will keep you up to date with everything. And finally, if you do have a request for a specific lore video, might I suggest leaving a comment, as I do tend to take these into consideration, and I'm always happy to take a request. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Until then, adios.